Captain Happy here, coming to you today with something a little bit different. I decided Space Battles 8.2 dropped this morning, so I decided to do a bit of a longer video and take a run at the cruisers that are available. And partially I decided to do this because it's been a few days since I've uploaded anything, and it will probably be a few more. As I mentioned in the last vid, I am currently working on a decently sized project, so it's going to take me a while. It's already been quite a bit of editing, but it's something that's going to be very well worth it. So I decided to, while I was playing today, almost do it kind of a la live stream and just do a couple of games sequentially, all in the space cruisers, and let you guys see the results. So the first one up here is the Galaxy, which is basically a Des Moines. And they give you 19-point captains, which is nice. So I went with Priority Target for obvious reasons. Expert Marksman as the turret traverse on the Des Moines, it leaves something to be desired. And then, of course, Adrenaline Rush. Gonna take hits, so you want some boost to the already crazy reload rate. Superintendent for the added charges. Demo Expert for the added fires, obviously. Concealment. And then I decided to go with radio location, just to give me a little bit more info on where enemies may be. And the one thing that is nice now, they have released in 8.2 some of the premium CVs, along with some other things, and so currently in randoms, you can't get away from CVs. And though I am very far from the CV hater that I used to be, I definitely, not only did I want to do the space battles, well, because they're space battles, and they're fun, and visually it's kind of eye candy, and it's nice. I also am partially doing it, full disclosure, to get away from the CV meta for right now. As you can see in this lineup, we have Heavy Gaia, which is the Zao, I believe. But this is going to be generally a straightforward kind of Des Moines gameplay. Find an island, something you can shoot over, and try and do as much damage as you can. Interesting part about this game mode, and I really like, some people want the April Fool's event to be a little more goofy. And fair enough, I wouldn't hate it if it was. But I do enjoy that this time around, Wargaming is actually taking a crack at some different interesting game modes. That's another thing that I've been desiring for a while, is some kind of variety to the game mode setup. I very much, I very much enjoy the scenarios, but there is a bit of a replayability aspect to those. And this type of thing, experimenting with, as you can see by the minimap, the cap circles. Not only do we start in the enemy's cap, and they're huge, but throughout the course of the game, you'll notice that they actually end up reducing and shrinking. So, who knows? I've had a couple games already where I can see some issues, potentially, with this format. It certainly, yes, it kind of motivates you to be more in the middle and more aggressive, and that's really nice. But at the same time, flanking along the extreme outsides, it's got its place. And you throw one too many ships flanking around the outside, and I've had a couple games where you end up losing your cap pretty quickly. At least once the game has already gone on for some time and you've maybe lost some of your ships in the middle. But either way, I applaud Wargaming for taking a crack at it. And I know as the time goes on here, there's going to be a couple other game modes that will be very interesting. And one, though I wouldn't necessarily call myself really good at this, cruiser player. They are going to have a torpedo-only mode, which should be pretty interesting, and if nothing else, kind of meme-worthy. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen with that. So as you can see here, found myself a nice rock where it looks to me on the right-hand side of this, I should be able to get close enough that I'm in some reasonable cover, but I can fire over top. And if the enemy pushes further to my left, I can reverse and pop out and maybe put some shells downrange that way. So we'll see as this battle develops. I did try something different with my recording this time, which I think I'm gonna stick with. I had some issues using the replay in the game to do my videos, and for the most part they're okay. The quality is alright, but they do this really super annoying thing. For the life of me, I haven't been able to figure out how to remedy it, where when an enemy pops up onto screen for the first time, it takes the replay about 4 or 5 seconds to render that enemy smooth. So you get this kind of choppy, weird feeling, and it's okay, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it is distracting, and certainly in some of those moments where I'm doing things more quickly and moving the camera quickly, and a destroyer pops up here, and then something comes around the corner there, it can be pretty jarring to watch. And so what I attempted to do, as I mentioned at the beginning here, is kind of do more of a live stream kind of format. Now, to be clear, this isn't a live stream. It's just me recording the battle as I play, and quite frankly, hoping that the battles go well enough for me to post. And thankfully they did. Not the greatest in the world, but I did pretty well in all three, and as you'll see, something that is worthy of a video anyway, if for no other reason than showing off a couple of the new visuals for the maps, and obviously the new skins and sound effects for the ships and the guns. You can see that Zaya made a pretty big mistake of sailing into the middle early game, which, so, you know, I'm not sure, it's hard for me to assess accurately what goes on with players. It seems to me that at least early on, so I jumped on and started playing as soon as I could, and it's a Monday, so not really sure what the kind of player base is consisting of at the moment. But I did notice quite a few people, maybe they don't usually use a Zao or a Des Moines or a Minotaur, or maybe they're frankly not sure what the different ships are representing as far as their real game counterparts. But I did notice quite a few people using the ships the way you're kind of not supposed to use them. So, great example was that initial Zaya or Zao. Usually you want to keep yourself undetected. Usually, at least when I sail my Zao, I avoid going in the middle ahead of all the rest of my friendly ships. But either way, hey, if it works to my advantage, I won't complain. It has been interesting though. I think it's a combination, and I mean, to be perfectly fair, visually, I mean, it took me a minute. I had to look at the stats of the different ships to fully understand, you know, which ship was which in game. I haven't yet read up. Usually, once a new patch drops, the first thing I do is go onto the Wargaming website and read all the patch notes and figure out what's new and what's what. This time, well, okay, I'll be totally honest. If you watched my last video, you know my birthday was recently, and I celebrated it for the most part yesterday with my family. And so today it was one of those things where I woke up and jumped on and just wanted to start playing. I didn't want to do any reading this morning, so I haven't yet. But that's making an excuse that may not be legit. It may be people doing what, frankly, you should in this kind of game mode too, which is don't take it seriously. Just go, have fun, be in a spaceship and shoot laser beams and other things at other ships. The one thing I will say, I am definitely a fan of the aesthetics. I like Wargaming's products because of the attention to detail and the authenticity historically. But these types of things are fun. Now, I would, and as a lot of you know, I do have all the ARP ships. So, taking a bit of a fantasy kind of spin to all this stuff is not something I'm opposed to in any way and think it's fun. I would be reluctant to get myself some of these, and yeah, here's a big ouchie mistake on my part. Probably shouldn't have sat broadside, but I was selfish for the kill. Okay, so anyway, the permanent skins that they offer for the space battles here are nice, and I wouldn't mind getting one or two and sailing around with them. But holy cow, are they expensive? I get it, and maybe they're expensive in a warranted way, but as far as I'm concerned, I probably will get one or two, depending on the amount of the currency you can earn in space battles. The name escapes me right now, but I might get one or two, especially for the ships that I sail a lot. But I'm definitely not going to be going about getting the full package of all of them. So I died, but a kill, 134k damage, and a victory. So not too shabby for game number 1, and especially in the galaxy, i.e. Des Moines. I've become very accustomed to the gameplay in that ship over the last couple of months, and so it was one of those that I knew right off the bat I was going to be pretty comfortable. Top of the team, nice. Only 1.1k in the XP, the base XP, which is something that I've heard some people complaining about so far. But again, it's just a fun mode. Who really cares? But they leveled these ships as tier 7s, which definitely kind of limits the amount of earning potential. But I don't mind. If it was the type of thing where the currency you could get was based more on that, maybe it would be a thing, but it's not. So now, here we are looking at the Zaya, i.e. the Zao. Not so sure about the aesthetic. I don't hate it, but it definitely has a space UFO kind of feel to me. So, consumables, hydro, and the spotter plane, because, as I mentioned before, there are no CVs in this mode, so there's absolutely no need to go with any kind of AA. Expert loader, because with the Zao it takes a minute, and I like being able to switch to AP, which I think there's a good example of coming in here. AR, demolition expert, obvious. Superintendent, extra charges, obvious. I did go with survivability, for the heck of it. I couldn't really think of many other more functional things as far as captain skills go in this build. And flags. So on each of these, and I failed to mention this before the first game, I did go with the detonation flag, and that's it. The only reason is if I was doing this way and kind of rolling the dice and on recording the replays live, I didn't want to detonate in a game because that would kind of make the replay. Well, I mean, there's a chance it could make it useless. So I did put on the detonation flag just to kind of minimize the chance for that. So we have the same battle mode. Um, Looks like a pretty even split. Actually, is it dead even? Yeah, dead even across the board except for the All Destroyer. Now, that ship I actually take a look at here to begin with. I think it's the Grosser Kerper. I'm not 100%. That's just kind of looking at what is effectively a silhouette and the amount of guns and that type of thing. But it's the type of thing I'll make myself more sure of. My intent here, especially with the commentary, isn't to be misinforming in any way. So I'll make it clear when I'm not sure of something. But yeah, there she is. And I guess maybe it could be a Montana. But not 100%, so don't take my word for it. This is the same battle mode, but a different map, and this one is very, very familiar. Now, for any of you who took part in the most recent ranked season, there were a handful of maps that, quite frankly, I got sick of. Now, I did make it to rank 1, which was cool. It was, other than the ranked sprint season, it was the first time I've ranked out. And to be perfectly honest, the only reason I haven't ranked out before is because A, I either didn't have time, the time to put into it, or B, I remember distinctly the very first season of ranked battles where it was, for me, so I played this game all the time. I played it basically since release, but that mode, the players, and not unjustifiably, were taking it way too serious. It was just too serious of a game mode. At least I think I made it to rank 5, and once I got beyond that, it served less of the purpose of a game, and it was not so enjoyable to me. So I kind of just stopped at around rank 5. I took the rewards I got for that. This season, however, I had a couple of things motivating me to go a little bit further. And before I digress anymore, the whole point is, this is one of the maps in the rank season that I got sick of. That being said, I also became very familiar with. So as far as different ships and tactics and that kind of thing, I feel kind of right at home on this map, whether it be in random battles or in something like this. But this season in ranked, I ended up having a lot of motivation to rank out, mostly because I got my eye on Stalingrad, and you need a whole bunch of steel for the Stalingrad, and I ranked out, got myself a good fair amount, not enough for the Stalingrad yet, but if my clan does reasonably well this season in clan battling, then I will have enough and I'll get to acquire her finally. So that should be neat. The other motivation was, quite frankly, being in a clan and being in a different position. So I joined the Gods of War clan. Actually, I don't even remember how long it's been. It hasn't quite been a full year yet. But with that, I kind of started taking my gameplay a little bit more seriously and wanting to do things like rank out. I mean, I guess bragging rights is kind of a part of it, but it's not really bragging rights inside a clan. It's more, I guess, leading by example. So that was a motivation. Also, I guess, doing this type of thing with YouTube, and like I said in my last video, I'm not really putting a lot of energy into the streaming thing yet. I've got some catching up to do technologically. So right now the quality of my streams is questionable, so I'm kind of not doing it that much. There doesn't seem to be much point unless I can get a really crisp presentation on it. But doing things more seriously, like YouTube and stuff like that. Also, I felt like I kind of needed to take more stuff more seriously, like ranking out. And yeah, that turned into quite a yarn about it. I will get back to the battle, and I will say how I really like the aesthetics of this map and this environment. I remember seeing their little kind of preview for it, I guess, Wargaming, and they talked about these big spire things that you can see here being frozen magma or molten lava or something like that, and I just really like it. I am a connoisseur of creativity in that way. Even the sky and the asteroids, it looks really cool. I myself am a freelance conceptual designer and an illustrator, and so when a game like this, like I said before, I really appreciate historical accuracy, and I really appreciate the amount of time and effort Wargaming has put into modeling these ships accurately. Which, by the way, I still have to check out the new Yamato model. But I like occasionally with events like this, when they let the creative, artistic minds that clearly work for them kind of just go and expand on different ideas that they have. And the end result is stuff like this, and frankly, it's beautiful. I enjoy looking at it, not enough to be distracted, and certainly not enough to be distracted enough to not notice this broadsiding Zaya and switch to the AP. There's one Citadel, and I think I got a couple more coming. And badoop, badoop, badoop. Yep, there we go. That was a pretty fair way, and you can see here how our team closed out this game pretty quick. It's a good example, actually, of one of those games that you don't hate as much as when your team gets run over, but you hate almost as much when you're going for naval battles stars, because it doesn't give you much time to really earn the XP. But not a terrible performance. I kind of like her. I think I'll play the Zaya a bunch as we go on, at least enough to get the next ship. Probably not as much as the Galaxy, though. Again, like I said, I'm pretty comfortable with the Des Moines gameplay, but I got a nice surprise here, and holy cow, look what I got. I got the is it the Norma? Yeah, the Norma, which I had no idea what it was at first, and immediately then seeing the turret layout, I was like, sweet, Minotaur, which I am currently grinding pretty hard for. The only thing I think I'm pushing harder for at the moment is the Henry, but I am at the Neptune, so I don't yet have a Minotaur of my own. So I was really excited to see this added, and immediately wanted to get a battle in, especially considering I was doing the recording, and whether or not I had a good fight, because I understand some of the aspects of the Minotaur as far as what I've been able to watch and research and stuff, but myself personally have never played, so there was a much higher risk here of me royally screwing it up, but I didn't care. I was excited. You can see what I'm going with the captain skills here. It's almost going to be exactly the same as the Des Moines, with the exception of the Jack of all trades. I think I end up selecting that. Maybe not. Because with being able to utilize smoke, the one thing I had noticed in my game so far is not even getting close to burning through all my consumables. But so, with that in mind, not to mention the fact that they are not premium consumables, I wanted to give myself a little bit of an advantage on the cooldown time. So I decided, yeah, I did go with Jack of all trades. But this one ended up being, probably my best game so far across the board in the space battles. And what it did is maybe part of what Wargaming wants stuff like this to do. It made me way more excited to get myself the minnow. Now I know it's, the gameplay is different, but at the same time, I really enjoyed the feel of this, and you will see pretty clearly that I get kind of comfortable kind of quick. It did take me a minute initially to figure out kind of the aiming. Now I haven't spent a tremendous amount of time in the American cruiser line. I've gotten to the Cleveland, and I'm not too anxious for the Worcester. I definitely wanted the Des Moines and stuff, and I fell in love with the Buffalo. So I've had to readjust a bit at high tiers, especially with the British cruiser line, with the 152s and their hang time, and how at range it becomes difficult, and you have to lead your targets substantially more. And you'll see in the first few minutes here that I take some time to kind of readjust to that type of a thing. But adjust quickly I do.
Action stations.
And you will all have to bear with me for a moment here. Okay, so we find ourselves on this map again, and I was talking before about enjoying the aesthetics. Now, I'm not sure if it might be the settings, the way my settings are, but I like the overall theme. I like the dark, brooding coldness of this, but it is almost a little too dark, where I struggled sometimes to kind of differentiate at a quick glance between, and you can even kind of see it now, the mountains and their tops, and then the sky. The sky is just almost exactly as dark. Not quite, but almost. Zoomed in, it's obviously better, but at a quick glance like this, it took me an extra minute to be able to tell whether I could actually fire at a ship or not. The one thing I do like, I like the little touches, and Wargaming does this with, different things in their ports as well. But a little UFO mining ship zooming around different places, I think that kind of thing is cool. I enjoy, and I wonder, silly, pointless things like, who was it at Wargaming? I was like, oh, I've got a great idea. There can be this mining ship that just floats around the game while people are playing. And what I really admire about it is not only their creative license, they're allowing people to kind of expand upon cool ideas, but they've managed to create a pretty good balance where stuff like that is visually appealing, but not distracting in any way where it takes away from the gameplay. Like, I wasn't ever like, oh, look at that spaceship, and missing a shot because of it, or anything like that, which I know some other games can be claimed they can be guilty of with some of their eye candy elements, but it's a minor thing, an inconsequential thing, and something that maybe other people would disagree with me on, but for my money to this point, it's the type of thing I think Wargaming has found a balance, at least in Warships. Haven't mentioned this before, I enjoy World of Tanks content, but I've played World of Tanks for all of Wycombe Plus, and if there was no World of Warships, I would actually probably play World of Tanks. It's got that nice, arcadey, massive multiplayer aspects, but it's not quite as fast-paced as like a first person. That being said, it's way more fast-paced. It's a totally different game than this, and I enjoy the pace of this a lot better. So I don't know much. I know there are some other content creators out there who to make active comparisons between the different wargaming titles. I'm not one of them. And though I've seen a couple videos about World of Planes, and that one, given my historical interest being more traditionally in the aeronautical side, one might think I might lean towards that. But so far what I've seen, though they've certainly done a lot to improve it from where it was a few years ago, I strongly dislike air combat games that go way into the arcadey realm. And that one, just judging by the gameplay that I've been able to see, I wouldn't enjoy that one for much more than a few minutes. It pushes itself way too far into the arcade kind of realm. And I mentioned in one of my videos recently that I came from a game called Aces High, which is an air combat simulator, not a flight simulator. So that was a perfect example to me of a perfect balance of accessibility in the gameplay. You could pick it up and just start playing, but the flight mechanics and the physics of the game were very, very good. Now, I've only flown a handful of times, like been at the controls of a plane myself, so I'm not an expert talking here, but it seemed to me pretty realistic flight models that they used. But it wasn't overly complicated, and it wasn't overly punishing to someone who was a complete layman to that kind of thing. So it was a nice balance, and the thing I found with most flight simulators, or quote-unquote flight simulators, basically air combat games, is they go way over the line. And, War Thunder is a good example. Now, I know you can do air R&B, and there are different modes, and you can make it closer to simulator, and for what it's worth, what I played hasn't been terrible. My problem with a game like War Thunder is it's not... Okay, so the flight model and the game style is fine, but it is a game that is absolutely designed at the masses. Rightfully so. They need to make money just like anybody else, so I get it, but giving an inherent advantage to people using a mouse and keyboard compared to someone using a flight stick seems backwards to me. But who cares? We're not playing War Thunder. We're not playing World of Planes or World of Tanks. We're playing World of Warships. So if one thing that you guys will notice, especially now that I am actively and we're able to add commentary, if I don't make notes, and something like this is a 40-minute long video, so I didn't make notes, I didn't create a script or anything, I can digress really easily, arguably aggressively. So forgive me for periodically going off on tangents. It is something that is a blessing and a curse in real life. But so back to the game, and as you can see, it didn't take me very long to get accustomed to how to aim these 152s. I have done a fair amount of damage, no kills yet, and the teams are going back and forth. So not only was this probably my best performance of the day so far, but it was also the best battle overall as far as being even. So you can see in the previous two, they started off okay, but at a certain point, my team ended up really getting a strong advantage and running away with the match. This one, we get the caps and we get a good point lead going in here, but almost to the very end, the ship count stays very even, and both teams go back and forth, and it was really, really, really enjoyable. And I think I remember at one point, not too long from now, actually mentioning, and I try to do this whenever this happens, but giving everyone in the game a good game. There's my first kill, and I'll take a Citadel to go with it. But it's something, and maybe it's just me, though different people I've talked to have noticed something similar, that more and more games, some people can write it off as being on the weekend. Maybe it's something that happens a lot on the weekend. But what I've noticed is more games now than ever are really lopsided, one way or another. And I wish I could say they were really lopsided in my favor generally, but that's not the case. Like, I would say, conservatively, 3 out of every 5 games of mine, it's decisive one way or another. So my point is, whether my perspective is accurate or not, my point is I try to throw compliments out there generously when a game is very evenly fought. And right here, I have to give props to this battleship player. I'm sitting in smoke, and I've been undetected for a good minute, and holy cow, was that a good shot into smoke. Nice blind shot, dude. Thankfully, and this is something, I've struggled a bit with the Edinburgh and the Neptune. I've struggled a bit in a couple ways. The thing I've been able to narrow it down to is I wish they could decelerate slightly quicker. By the time I'm detected, hit the brakes, end up in smoke, every battleship on the enemy team's already looking at me, and the only thing that kind of balances out the damage that I take is the super heal, which is nice, and you can see right there, I went back up to over half HP, and that's nice, and a nice way to balance it. Excuse me, but for my money, I'd rather be able to hit the brakes a little bit quicker, basically, because without that ability, what it does, and I guess these 3 games that you've seen aren't great examples of it. I'm not a huge fan of being overly passive in my gameplay. Now, that being said, I am definitely not overly aggressive. I am not a YOLOer typically until that's the only option or the best option. But it's a little more inherently uncomfortable to me to be shoehorned into a passive play style. I mean, I'll even just very often mistakenly go and do some open ocean work in a Des Moines or a Buffalo, and it's just kind of the things I'm inclined to do. I like active maneuvering. My absolute favorite tier 10 ship is the Hindenburg, and it surprises a lot of people to hear, because it's a cruiser, you can get nuked. It does have some trolley armor, but my intent, I have the range upgrade, and I like long range spamming in it and then brawling if I have to. I want to be shot at. I want to be the thing that's 10k past the cap that the enemy battleships are looking at, so that they're less likely to be looking at our DD in the cap if it gets spotted. And I have a fair amount of confidence in my ability to maneuver. I do a good enough job that being targeted by 3 or 4, it's scary at times, but if I'm far enough out in the Hindenburg, I'm not worried about it. It usually ends up kind of okay. So at this point, so you can see the point lead is pretty dramatic. We've gotten all 3 of the caps, and we pushed them well outside. So our team is in a very, very comfortable position. That being said, and there's my shout out to everyone in the game, it's still 3v3, and I have seen games in far different situations be lost or thrown. It's by no means a guaranteed win at this point. That being said, all three of the enemies are on, well, yeah, I guess except for one. They're on perilously low health, and they are moving away. So, I guess it's a good game, but 150k damage, almost, and a kill. I'll take it. This game was enjoyable. It came all the way down to the last three ships, again, but for the Caps. So it was not only my best performance, but it was absolutely the most enjoyable battle that I had today. So we are quickly coming to the end. You can see we're 9:37, and we're about to win. I was actually really hoping that I might be able to get enough off here to get one final kill in. 2, 3, 4 salvos away, but I believe the points tick out. And I get so close. Just give me literally another couple seconds. But it is what it is, and a victory is a victory. 155k damage is where I ended, which is really nice. So, I know it's been a very long video today. I hope that it makes up to a certain degree for my lack of videos recently, and probably it'll be another few days. I have, comfortably speaking, another 3 or 4 days of editing before I get my historical recreation cinematic uploaded. But so far, so good, and I'm really, really excited about it. It's something that goes well beyond the kind of videos I've done so far. Again, except for the ARP video, it's closest to that, and it demonstrates a little bit more of my artistic inclinations. So I'm working hard on that, trying to get that out there, spending a bunch of hours every day, a little bit less time playing the game so that I can provide that for all of you. I hope that you all enjoyed the battle today, and I will see you sometime very soon. This is Captain Happy.